All right, man, peace. So Fletcher Cox, one of the star players of the Philadelphia Eagles, recently has been the subject of a lawsuit from a North Carolina man who states that Fletcher Cox, and Fletcher definitely puts the Cox in Cox. This man from North Carolina claims that Fletcher Cox slept with his wife while his wife was on a business trip in the Pennsylvania area. When I first heard this story, I said, oh, this is very interesting. Of course, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Evan here with Van and Michael J. Babcock.
What's up?
Fletcher Cox is having a hell of a season with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, he sure is. He damn sure is. He just tackled him another tight end.
He certainly is.
Pro Bowl.
Turned her into a wide receiver.
Bowl, he's on the best team in the NFL. He's killing
He
it.
recently signed a 6-year, $103 million contract. He's a big star.
Yeah, huge.
He's also been accused of banging a dude's wife and ruining his marriage.
Love that.
And he's now being sued.
Let me say this. Another man could bang your woman, but they cannot ruin your relationship because a man can only take from you what was never yours. Okay? If another man bangs out your quote-unquote woman was never yours in the first place. This is why I make videos telling cats about the propaganda and the ideology of quote-unquote falling in love, which is basically just a fancy way of stating that this man is overly infatuated with the woman and that he has put her on a pedestal as an idol. It's very important that brothers, and I make most of these videos for brothers who go through a lot of these issues, because there really are not many resources for the so-called black man, particularly the younger black man in this society. They tell the young black man that he's just supposed to take it, right? You're just supposed to eat that and just live with it. And that's why a lot of cats are dealing with mental anguish, and they're dealing with mental problems, psychological issues, and a lot of unresolved anger. Because especially men in America, particularly quote-unquote heterosexual men, are told that they should just tolerate everything. They just have to deal with it. Everyone else is coddled. So when I saw this story, I said to myself, you know, this this definitely will be a good backdrop for a video. Because this man from North Carolina, I have no idea what race he is. It's really not relevant to the story. I'm pretty sure that he's a so-called black man, though. This man is dealing with so much mental anguish over what happened between his wife and Fletcher Cox that he decided that he's going to sue Fletcher Cox. So let's see what else they have to say.
Being sued for that, and some of that $103 million contract.
And let me say this, if it's not a so-called black man, one of you brothers can correct me, but once again, that's not really essential to the topic at hand.
Could be going back to that dude.
Wait, sued for that? How do you get sued for that? I didn't know you could do
You
that.
can only sue for this in a couple different states, but in North Carolina, you can sue a person if he bangs your spouse and ruins your marriage. That's true.
Wow.
So here's what happened. A dude.
Well, before he goes into what happened, that makes sense. And if you notice, there are very, very few provisions, punitive provisions that are set up in most of these state laws in regards to punishments for people infracting on the contractual obligations of quote-unquote marriage. That's how you know that this society really does not value marriage. They value weddings. Why? Because weddings are what bring in revenue. You know what else brings in revenue? Divorces. So they actually want you to go through the process of wedding and divorce. And in between that so-called marriage, you basically have to go every day just hoping, quote unquote, that the other partner is quote unquote faithful. Now, this channel has always been geared towards the so-called black man. It always will be geared towards the so-called black man. Now, I understand that women also can go through the same issue with, at least in regards to how they perceive it, a man, quote unquote, cheating on them. Even though, as I've already stated, a man can have more than one woman as long as that man is not dealing with another woman who happens to have a man already, and he's not being willy-nilly about what he's doing, putting himself at risk by dealing with females that he doesn't know, so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong with him having another woman or another wife. And I'll be doing a video on that relatively soon. But if the states in America, and if America in general, really cared about the concept of marriage, they would have legislated some type of punitive damage for one or both partners not living up to the expectations of that marriage convention, which is contractual, right? They don't do that. Because once again, the culture in America is telima, do what thou wilt. Now, in regards to North Carolina is a state that is affiliated with being part of the quote-unquote Bible Belt.
A dude who's named Joshua Jeffords, who lives in North Carolina, believes that he can prove Fletcher Cox banged his hot wife. And by the way, we've seen photos of the wife, and she's very attractive.
She's hot.
He says that she went on a work trip to Pennsylvania back in April, and that Fletcher Cox
gave us some work.
The damn sure did. Damn sure did. Brothers, let me say this again. And I bring this up intermittently. I touched on this in the video about the Saudi Arabian women being or looking for the to have the ability to drive. The main reason why the woman wants to have the ability to drive and travel and go here and go there is to pursue random penis. People might not like that I'm saying that, but it's the truth. You know what goes on a lot of these work trips? Brothers, look, I worked in corporate America. I've heard many stories. I remember back when I was working in corporate America, I used to have female bosses that always used to try to get me to go on these work trips. It's obvious that when you go on work trips, people want to see you with your quote unquote hair down, see you in a vulnerable position, quote unquote, to see how you conduct yourself when you imbibe, or hell, if they have a chance to lay down with you. This is what goes on in corporate America. So when the woman, particularly when she travels abroad, as I've stated numerous times, woman isn't nothing but a child until she's about 45 years old. And there is a potentiality for her to engage in hijinks with other colleagues, or to go out on wild nights out with her colleagues, get drunk, and go home with a random man. Those things happen. When the woman decides that she's talking about, hey, I'm going on a trip to the Bahamas or to Mexico with my homegirls, you already know what that's about. That's about finding some random Mexican or Jamaican or Bahamian dick and throwing that shit in the closet and coming back and trying to act like nothing happened. This is why oftentimes they try to extol the premise of quote unquote trust. You'll oftentimes hear females use that word, oh, you don't trust me, or life is not about trust, brothers. Life is about equity. Okay? You put your trust in the Most High. When the woman, through a certain period of time, through conduct, shows that she's with you and not for any form of a payoff, or there's nothing that she's waiting on. She's just there, and you learn that over years, over a process of time. When you're with a female for 3 months and 4 months, and she's talking about you don't trust me, that's somebody who's looking to get into a secure position in your mind so that she can start to execute phase 2 of whatever her plan is. Somebody who's deserving of trust is someone who never asked for it. Okay? A person who's trustworthy never asked for it. They just prove to you that they deserve to be in good stead with you by their constant conduct. So whenever a woman asks you, do you trust me? That's always a red flag. Okay? And even the scriptures tell you, when you read Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, or you brothers who have a King James 1611 Bible, it tells you in Ecclesiasticus, the 26th chapter, to not let your woman gad abroad. What does that term mean? Gad means to troop abroad or go wherever she wants. Now, in the modern day relationship convention, men really, for the most part, can't dictate to women where they can go and where they can't go and all that other stuff. But you just have to watch the woman and see how much regard she has for you. And you use maturity. You say, look, I'm not interested in a woman who is always out in the street or who's going here and there. So we really can't deal, or we can't deal on a serious level. And her response is going to determine how seriously she takes you in the relationship.
They gave her some work during the work trip, and that they later texted about it, and that he can prove that he banged her. So in North Carolina, you can sue for something called alienation of affection. And to successfully sue for this, to win, you have to prove that you and your spouse had a genuine love and affection, that the love and affection was alienated and destroyed, and that the malicious acts of a third party are the cause for the alienation of affection, and you can sue that third party. So,
well, that's a good thing, but that's more to assuage the mental trauma, the psychological trauma that this man has gone through than anything else. It's not to repair the relationship. All right? And by the time a female has done all that, she does not care about what that man's feelings are in the least anyway. She's on her way out. She's just looking for someone to move on to. Okay? And that's another thing. Cats have to stop talking about loyalty with the woman. The woman has to be raised in a culture that extols loyalty, meaning really just respect for manhood, which most females in this society are not raised with. The females actually raised to disrespect manhood. So cats have to stop looking for things like loyalty. Am I saying that there aren't any quote unquote loyal women? Of course not. There are exceptions to every rule. But once again, the female is on lifetime probation. They're children, they are capricious and whimsical. Once again, that's why the only thing that you really put faith in is the Most High. That is how you keep your wisdom that is how you keep your stability, your mental stability, is through wisdom. Right? Wisdom is the knowledge of the potentiality of situations to occur based on what has occurred in the past. That's how you know that you build wisdom through experience. So had this man been experienced in relationships, then he would have known just by watching his wife's movements based on what he's seen in previous relationships or just by observation with other people that something was going on. Because most people are not in they're not in a relationship dynamic where everything is going well and then all of a sudden these type of things happen. Unless the woman is just a tremendous actress, which is possible. All right? It's possible. So I think that the husband here is just really trying to get his pound of flesh out of the situation so that he can kick the wife to the curb.
What he's saying is Fletcher Cox banged his wife. His wife then, the marriage fell apart.
Became
The wife,
enamored with Fletcher Cox.
yeah, well, guess what? Guess what? The wife blocked him on Instagram. Blocked the husband on Instagram.
Oh, wow.
And he's claiming the marriage, that's proof that the marriage is falling apart.
No, that's just proof that Fletcher Cox put the Cox in Fletcher. That's what it is. All right. It's Cox. I don't know if it's spelled C-O-X. It might be spelled C-O-C-K-S. You know, the man put it on your wife. That's what happened. Okay. So she blocked your ass on Instagram and she's ready to fly. Eagles fly. All right. Once again, brothers, you can't you can't be concerned with the hijinks of the woman. Okay. Most of the time, the woman is looking for some form of thrill, of new thrill. They're not good with monotony. They're just not. Not unless they're raised in a society that lets them know that they're going to be punished for what comes natural to them. All right. The Most High gives the woman the maternal DNA so that she can raise the children. Other than that, a woman is basically going to be as loyal as the options that she has. Right? Chris Rock once made the joke that a man is as faithful as his options. Well, that's really more applicable to the woman. All right? Because faithfulness for a man is different. What do I mean by that? The man can have multiple women. He's not going to leave leave one and go to the other unless the first one is bring an inordinate amount of negative energy to him. A man can have 3 women, 4 women. If they're all bringing positive energy, he'll deal with all 4. The woman, on the other hand, is going to show, she's going to show an inability to deal with multiple men in a constructive way. She's going to pull away from one because they always love new things. The woman, once again, is like a child. They like to play with new things. So that's why, once again, if you're fortunate enough to get a woman who knows how to deal with one man and is mature enough or was raised in a good enough environment, good enough home, particularly with a father in the home, to know how to deal with a man and respect manhood, you can't blow that because most of these women are whores. We're living in a society where the culture is to promote whoring. It's just what it is. So this man, when he decided that he was going to sign a contractual agreement with a female, and he most likely did not get to know her well enough.
See this picture right here. I have a new nickname for Fletcher Cox.
What's that?
Sexual chocolate.
Yeah, he's a handsome man.
Look at him right there. Look at that picture. I have to believe that Fletcher Cox is capable of something like this. Look at him.
So the man is suing Fletcher Cox because he's saying, look, you banged a married woman, and I can prove it because I have text messages that you sent to her. And in those text messages, Fletcher Cox says, quote, I want to get you pregnant. And then he said...
If you want to get her pregnant, then good luck. And look at this. This bitch said, I bartend tomorrow night. So what the fuck is your woman doing on a work trip? Got to go up to Philly to bartend. Like, come on. She said, we make some damn beautiful babies. That woman did not love her so-called husband. At least at the moment that she went and moved on with Fletcher Cox. Okay? Unfortunately, in life, most things have a beginning and an end. There are very few things that are going to last until the end of your fleshly life. That's why, once again, it is not mentally healthy to allow yourself to, quote unquote, fall in love with anything. All right? Anything. Because all that is idolatry. That is why the woman likes to promote falling in love, because through the act of falling in love, she gains manipulative powers over the man. And for most women, many women, they believe that they want a man to fall in love with them until it happens. And I've mentioned this before. Many women are in the morgue because they made a man fall in love with them, and that man was not ready to let go. Why? Because he worshipped her as an idol. So when she wanted to leave, he said, no, I don't think so. If I can't have you, nobody else can. It happens.
And he says, I'm dead ass serious. And then she says back, like I said, I want to get to know you, babe.
In other words, she's an idiot. She doesn't understand that this man does not really take her serious. When he says, I want to get you pregnant, all he really means is, I want to bust some more nuts. This bro said, I know we are compatible sexually, but I don't want to know we are on other levels as well. The only level he's concerned with is the bust a nut level. That's the only level that he is concerned with. So once again, this is why I blame the so-called husband. He was supposed to know that his wife is a $2 hoe. All right? And these are things that brothers got to watch out for, man. You're dealing with a broad. If she's been with more than 2 or 3 men in her life, that means that she's very, very comfortable moving on to other men. All right? I mean, of course, in a real society, a man gets a virgin to marry. That's what you're supposed to get. Really, unless you're dealing with a virgin, you're just dealing with a hoe. Okay? A lot of people might not like that. I don't really give 2 fucks. If you're not dealing with a virgin, you're pretty much dealing with a hoe. Unless that woman's husband passed away, or she was dealing with some form of degenerate where she had to leave that man, or had to, quote unquote, dissolve the relationship, or both parties agreed to dissolve the relationship. But the vast majority of these females in this society, because that's the culture in this society, is to promote whoredom. They're whores. It's not an insult. It's just a fact. They believe in leading with their pussy and then getting to know the man, quote unquote, later. Right? You don't got to work hard to get ass now in this society. These bitches, they lead with their pussy. That's the first thing that you meet. You meet a broad, you're not even shaking hands with her. You shaking the pussy. You say, hey, how are you? You feeling kind of wet down there? Well,
I know we're compatible sexually, but I want to know we are on other levels as well. And the husband says that's
what men do when they read shit like that. Like women, when they send these dumbass texts, they really think that the man on the other line is taking them seriously. They're laughing because it's a fucking joke. I want to know we are on other levels as well. The main level that the woman has to be compatible on is with her knowledge of her gender role. That's why, once again, Western women do not get taken seriously other than by simps. These are the only people that are taking these women seriously, or young men who are not experienced. This is why it's very important for the overall family architecture to be the woman leading the home, because they have to prep the young men to worship women. Because if you had a home that was being led by a man, it is far less likely, I'm not saying it's not likely, but it's far less likely for the man to get caught up in dumb shit. So they need these young boys and young men to be in households that are dominated by female energy, so that when they leave the house, they're accustomed to being subservient mentally to the woman and believing a lot of her silly jargon. That's how they keep the process going, because by the time most of these guys figure it out, normally they have impregnated 1 or 2 women before they learn. And those 1 or 2 women are going to be the ones that are going to be raising their children and continuing the cycle.
That's proof that Fletcher nailed his wife. So if you go to a court in North Carolina, you check all the boxes for what you need to get to successfully sue for alienation of affection, and he believes he has all the everything he needs.
Seems pretty healthy.
Here's the deal. I want to say that I wouldn't sue for this.
Right.
You would.
But here's the situation.
Well, that's easy for you to say. You're not married. If you were to marry a female and actually allow yourself to fall in love with that female, and then come to find out that she banged out, pardon me, she got banged out. But then again, a lot of these NFL players are pansexuals. She might have banged them out and got banged out. But anyway, if you were in that situation and you found out that your quote unquote wife got banged out by this guy, and you realized that there was a provision that would allow you to take a lot of his money, I guarantee you would consider it.
No. If Fletcher Cox has $100 million and you're going to lose your wife, why not?
Take a choice with your shot.
Well, you're not going to lose her. You lost her a long time ago. Believe me, this is not the first person that this man's wife has laid down with. This is just most likely the most famous person, but you never even know that either. A lot of these women are just professional groupies.
Oh yeah,
Like
shoot your
the
shot.
biggest
Hell, a lot of these men are professional groupies.
punk in the world.
No.
The only thing more embarrassing than this is suing somebody.
You look like the biggest punk in the universe. However, would you rather?
Now you see how these two guys, both of them are in their mid to late 30s, and neither one of them are married, quote unquote. But you see how eager they are to slam on the so-called husband. Now, if the husband had taken another route and decided that he was just going to kill his wife, then they would call him a psycho. So this is what I mean when I talk about the programming for heterosexual men in America, is that you're just supposed to take everything and tolerate it and swallow it, and just, hey, it just is what it is. Nobody should care about what happened to you. Now, if the roles had been reversed and a woman had been married to a man who decided that he was going to take a work trip and sleep with another woman, and if that woman had decided that she was going to take him to court and take the money of the rich woman that he slept with, everybody would have said, you know what? Good for you. Hell, if that woman had decided that when that man came home that she was going to snip off his penis, you would have had a good portion of people who would have said, I understand. You see that? But that is the indirect promotion of the denigration of the masculine principle in Western society.
Rather be a broke punk,
Right.
or a rich punk?
Now, I want to say this though, because I think this is fair. If you're Fletcher Cox,
Yes.
and you don't know if this chick's married or not.
Yeah,
She's just a hot chick.
I doubt if he cared. But I agree. Most of these females in America today, you don't know if they're married or not. You don't know if they have a man or not, because they conduct themselves as people who are not with anybody. Most of them dress in scantily clad attire, even when they're so-called married. Most of them are on the internet and on social media with thumbnail representations of them looking directly into their photo with lipstick on and lip gloss on, and with their breasts out and their ass popping and all this other stuff. So most of the females in America really don't have a desire to let people know that they're in relationships unless they're 2 or 3 children deep and about 30 pounds overweight. But most of the females who make any type of effort to keep themselves in shape, they're doing that to let people know that they are on the market, no matter what their relationship situation is.
Chick who was into you, and you figured, okay, let's have a.
This law,
He really liked her.
And he did. He said he wanted to get her pregnant.
it wasn't his fault. Like,
Fletcher
she
Cox-
made her own
You know
decisions.
what?
Like, she wanted to bang
And
Fletcher
this whole
Cox.
thing, maybe.
Now, did you hear what the Caucasian man on the bottom left said? He said that she made a decision. She wanted to bang Fletcher Cox. That's the situation. That's the mentality of quote unquote men in America. Hey, the woman does what she wants to do, and I just have to deal with it. And to a degree, that's understandable, because that is the condition of the battle. But then these will be the same people who want to put the woman on a pedestal. You can't have it both ways. If you accept that she engages in whore behavior, then you have to accept that she's a whore. So once again, I don't know why people shun that label for the mentality of the modern day woman. It is a whore mentality. Period. Or really, I should say a slut mentality, because the whore gets paid. Sluts don't.
Be allegedly biggest.
Let me rewind it back just to get what I believe his name is Babcock said. A dude named Babcock. Let me get what he said in context.
biggest punk in the universe. However, would you rather be a broke punk,
Right.
or a rich punk?
Now, I want to say this though, because I think this is fair. If you're Fletcher Cox,
Yes.
and you don't know if this chick's married or not.
Yeah,
she's
maybe
just a hot chick who was into you, and you figured, okay, let's have a.
So this law,
He really liked her.
And he did. He said he wanted to get her pregnant.
it wasn't his fault. Like,
Yeah,
she made her own decision.
what?
Like, she wanted to bang
And
Fletcher
this whole
Cox, and she
thing,
did.
in this whole thing,
Yeah, but you know what? If he's able to, the husband has text messages to prove that Fletcher Cox knew that the woman was married, then he can move forward with the proceedings. And yes, the woman did make that decision, but once again, we all know that in a court of law, there are certain court cases where they factor in mental anguish. Who the hell knows? I'm pretty sure that this husband has the information that he needs. So if he was able to get access to her text messages, hey, you got a lot of crazy stuff going on out here. I was talking to a brother about this just a couple days ago. You got people out here with all type of surveillance techniques on their so-called significant others to try to track what they're doing. And in this day and age, I really can't blame certain people. If your relationship is that important to you, certain people to be tracking their significant others and all this other stuff, because people out here just, people are out here just trading partners like baseball cards.
maybe allegedly Fletcher Cox is the guy that's actually getting taken advantage of.
I know.
He's in love with somebody. He doesn't even know that they're
That man ain't in love with nobody. He just wants another round with that coochie. That's all.
married.
Hey, here's my message to the husband.
What?
Your wife doesn't like you anymore. She's out trying to bang professional athletes. You need to live your life and get over it. Move on with your life, bro.
Hey, you better keep that suit going. All you got now to keep you warm is that money.
I agree with what Van Lathan said. But once again, you see the Caucasian at the top left, he just said, get over it. I have no problem with that mentality. You do have to move forward in life. But that is why, once again, you're not supposed to fall in love with the female, because when these situations don't work, there's no one who's going to feel sympathetic for the love, quote unquote, that you thought you had with that person. No, nothing in the flesh is going to last forever. If you're fortunate in the flesh, you may have a convention, a relationship that will last your entire life. But everything gonna come to an end. So it doesn't make any sense to allow yourself to put something or to create it as an idol, to craft it or allow it to elevate in your life as an idol. Very, very, very bad decision. Well, hey, that's the end of this video on this topic. Hopefully that husband is able to come to terms with the reality of the situation. And I hope that he does get some form of reimbursement. And we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, peace.